I think they have populated this roster with good players. They have populated this roster with professionals. There's less nonsense, and these guys can play. Dan Campbell has kind of set the tone for the culture, and Brad Holmes, who built draft boards with the Rams and did a great job without first-round picks for Les Snead, setting up picks in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth round, and helping that team. They basically drafted well and supplemented with huge moves. Brad Holmes has come here, and he has drafted well. I fully believe that. And I think this is going to be one of those seasons where when the final 53-man roster comes out, there are going to be some painful cuts. We're going to be like, oh, I didn't think they cut him. And for the first time, I'm watching other teams play preseason games, and I usually watch for guys that I hope get cut by those teams that maybe the Lions can pick up. I think the Lions have moved past many of these teams talent-wise that they're not even going to be able to or want to pick up other teams' cast-offs because their roster's good. I think the talent is here. And, there's some prove it to it. There's some prove it to it. But, my God, it sounds like this rookie class is going to make an impact. And last year's the sophomore class is going to continue to make an impact. And there's something to be said about this offensive line. This offensive line is the best they've had since pre-tragedy offensive line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean
the 91 offensive line.
And I think that sets your team up for success. And while the defense isn't perfect, data has shown in the last 4 or 5 years, it's the best offenses that are really going to the playoffs and chasing Super Bowls. So that's why I believe in this group. It is talent-based. You got to have the players, and I believe in the players they got. And their free agency class addressed the biggest need, and it was a heavy load of free agent secondary players. So,
yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with anything you said, and I would add to it that they're all on the same page, which I don't think is an easy thing to do in team sports, to get everybody on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Players, coaches, and executives, they're all on the same page. They all believe in the same thing. The executives came up with what they wanted. They hired people that would exemplify that, and then they went out and got the players that epitomize exactly what they're looking for. And that's what they've done. In 3 drafts, that's exactly what they've done.
You mentioned something, too, that we should not dismiss. And it's one of the reasons why I like Mike Vrabel as a coaching candidate. I think when you got a player that's just at the bottom of the NFL pay scale, making $750,000, and you got Jared Goff looking at a $30+ million extension, and you can get them all on the same page, I think that's a talent. I think it's more difficult to do than people realize. Because guys are at different points in their career. You're trying to get them to do what's best for the team. And those guys at $750,000, $800,000 are trying to score that big contract, but they're doing what you ask them to do because they believe that they will be rewarded, and you get them doing what the team needs.
I think they've been, as a coaching staff, I think another thing that players appreciate is that they've been fair. Earn it on the practice field, you'll get an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And guys have gotten those opportunities. Don't earn it on the practice field. If you're not as available as you should be, mentally and physically, then we're going to take away those opportunities. We're going to give them to somebody else. And they're not afraid to make those moves. I mean, they've had some pretty high-priced guys on this roster over the last couple of years that have not played a whole lot because, you know what? They weren't the right guy to have there out on Sunday. So they were sitting on the bench in favor of somebody else. So, James Houston gets an opportunity halfway through the season and just flourishes.